At Obrizum, we wanted our technology to adapt as fast as the world around us, designed for how people actually learn, which we call true adaptive learning. Traditional learning prefers a much more linear approach. It assumes that every learner going into a training program comes with the same level of experience, the same level of confidence, and the same level of self-awareness. This one-size-fits-all approach is what we call one-size-fits-nobody. It is very disengaging. It doesn't take into account that people need to see things at a different pace, at their own speed, and help them overcome gaps in their knowledge in different ways. So adaptive learning was created to fix this. We wanted to find a way to, as closely as possible, give every single learner a personal tutor in a digital environment. How could we make learning more engaging? How could we get individuals trained in a much more personalized manner? And quite importantly, how could we do it faster? There are different types of adaptive learning today. One we call the Netflix-style recommendation. This takes a different approach and isn't as granular as the way we do things within Obrizum. The best way to think about this is when you watch a horror movie on Netflix, it will then recommend other horror movies to you. Similarly, with Netflix-style adaptive learning, once you complete a course and achieve a certain score, based on that score, it will recommend other training courses to you. Within Obrizum, we do things quite differently. We prefer to take the granularity of the training course, content by content, within a particular course. The other style of adaptive is decision trees. So imagine a learning team having to manually create every single potential decision a learner could make and build that into a journey for them. So to give you an example, if learner 1 answers an assessment question and gets it incorrect, we're going to send them to content piece 3. However, if learner 1 had answered that question correctly, we would have sent them to content piece 4. And you would have to make that tree for every single decision. Now, there are two fundamental problems there. The first is that it would take ages to build every potential outcome. Therefore, you can't. So not only does it take much longer to build that type of adaptive learning, but it means that you are reducing the potential number of journeys that a learner could take. So really, the personalization there is capped. Obrizum takes a very different approach. First of all, we prefer continuous assessment throughout that learning journey, unlike more traditional methods, which will show you the content and then follow it with assessments at the end. Importantly, the way we assess is very instrumental in ensuring that we're able to measure the right data that is highly reliable in order to make the decisions that will send the learner to the next piece of relevant content. If we look at more traditional methods of assessing digital learning, we're typically looking at things like multiple choice questions or MCQs. Now, traditional MCQs are broken. They exist because they are easy to create, they're very easy to scale, and they're very easy to mark. But they are also fundamentally flawed. First and foremost, they are very prone to click-through behavior. Learners find it very easy to disengage with traditional MCQs. They find it very easy to select a random answer where they don't know a question. And actually, it's quite easy to certify within a course where you might not know everything because it was quite easy to click through those MCQs. The problem there is that the learners aren't actually learning very much. If you look at retention, after a few weeks, they've likely forgotten the majority of what they learned in that course. The other problem is that an organization likely created that training course because there was a fundamental skill gap that they were trying to close. By not being able to prove that learners actually engaged with those MCQs, it's very difficult to prove the effectiveness of those training courses and therefore very difficult to prove the ROI. So instead, Obrizum patented a new metacognitive assessment. It not only measures accuracy, but importantly also looks at confidence and self-awareness of the learner. So how does it work? Well, we've tried to keep the structure of the MCQ to make it as scalable as possible. Learners will still see a question and they will still see sub-answers. Except now when they select a sub-answer, they're presented with a confidence slider. They then have to say how confident they feel that they're about to get the question they've selected correct. And we've then added in a points-based system, or what we like to say, get tasteful gamification. When they get the answer confidently correct, they're winning points. And when they get the answer incorrect with confidence, they're losing points. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, we're making it impossible for learners to display those behaviors of disengagement or click-through behavior. The second a learner tries to disengage, and are not paying attention to their confidence, they will start to lose points very, very rapidly, to the points where Obrizum is created to be able to block that learner from being able to progress. And interestingly, when learners do first come into the platform, they do exhibit some of those behaviors. They will give a very small confidence, for example, to try to game the system. But importantly, they will lose points very quickly and they won't be able to progress. So what this means is we are finally proving the effectiveness of Obrizum's adaptive digital courses, because you cannot certify within Obrizum unless you have fundamentally paid attention and answered those assessments with real confidence. The second thing we're able to do is provide our system with very accurate data. Because we've proven that those assessments are guess-proof, and because we've proven it's impossible to disengage, we now know that the data we're collecting from our learners is extremely accurate. We know when learners are sure, we know when learners are unsure of their ability, but we also know when they're confused. We also know when they're trying to guess. And by using that information and that data, we're able to very accurately tailor that journey to the individual based on what they need to see and not on the things they've proven they know. So it's a much more engaging course for the learner. In fact, we've proven that 98% of learners prefer learning within Obrizum's adaptive journey compared to more traditional digital learning. We're also keeping learners within the platform for longer and are proving higher completion rates, whilst importantly doing it much faster. So on average, we're showing that learners are getting through these training courses anywhere between 2 to 5 times faster. So for the learner, we're able to get them through content that's relevant to them, it's more relevant to their experience, it's more engaging, and the personalized journey will get them there faster. Adaptive with Obrizum is the new way to deliver and measure digital learning in a more robust, more engaging and personalized way for training and experiences that adapt with the world.